Hi, welcome everybody. It's We Talking About Sports NFL Week 9. Before we start, there might be some technical difficulties, so just bear with us. But I have with me Big Pap's Revenge. We're running the two-man weave into this NFL Week 9. There's a game that's already started, which Ben is watching. Tell us what the score is in the game, Ben.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the Chiefs and the Dolphins.
21-14 right now, 2 minutes and 50 seconds. The Chiefs have a 3rd and 1, but, it was 21-0 at halftime. Early, we had the daylight savings time, so woke up extra early, ready for this one. It looked like the Chiefs were going to roll, but here they are. They're going to have to punt back to the Dolphins with 2 minutes and 36 seconds left on the clock. So if the Dolphins can get a touchdown here and force overtime, it'll definitely happen while we're live on the show. That'll be good. But yeah, it's
I like
awesome
it.
having football for breakfast, Ron.
Hell yeah, man. All right, so today in week 9, we're going to get into the bye week blues. Then we're going to hit the injury report. We're going to let you know our flexes of the week, our must starts, and finish off with best bets. It's 11:26 a.m. Central Standard Time, so 30 minutes until kickoff. So let's get you in it and let's get you out, hopefully in about 15 minutes. Ben, let's start with the bye week blues here. These 4 teams are not playing this week, so if you have anybody on your fantasy, make sure that they are not in your roster. Broncos, Lions, Jaguars, and
My
49ers.
screen,
The
my
biggest name right.
screen's black, Ron. Just I don't know if the technical difficulties have
Oh
begun, but
man.
all I
It-
see is black here. I can roll with the flow, but I'm not sure. Justin's in the chat. Justin, can you tell us if you can see
Oh
the
no, I can't. Yeah, I'm
information?
watching it live on Facebook too, right here. Check it out. It's a
Yeah,
black screen. All right, let's try it out real quick. Give us a second. That's why we need Justin back, bro. We need him for his
producer Justin, right
yeah, we
here
need
behind the
producer
scenes.
Justin back.
Yeah, we do
Uh,
have some. We do have several bye weeks this week. Most notably, the 49ers. We know that CMC's out, Brandon Ayuk is out, George Kittle's out. Those are guys that normally you're starting every week in fantasy football. And man, speaking of fantasy football, this game has been very underwhelming for fantasy football. Mostert scored himself a touchdown here pretty late. Here he goes again on another long run, but he had 1 point coming into the fourth quarter or late third quarter. So fantasy football, some people with these big dogs playing right now and getting a low scoring game of only 14 points, the defense scoring one for the Chiefs. You had Wilson scoring one for the Dolphins. So not a lot for fantasy
there it
football
is.
teams being done out here.
Sheesh.
A lot of
Yeah.
games could already be decided, bro. I know I'm a Tyreek Hill owner, and I don't have a lot of hope in my teams anymore this week.
Definitely, man. So then we have big names on the Jaguars. So you have your obviously your quarterback Trevor Lawrence. He's probably getting a lot of your run. The Lions, I have Jared Goff, man, who I'm definitely not starting because he's not playing. So I got to go find a quarterback. Actually, after we get off the show, I waited a little bit too long.
Damn, Ron,
Uh,
cutting it
I
late.
know.
Yeah, St. Brown and Gibbs have also been really serviceable for the Lions as of late. St. Brown, the wide receiver, Gibbs, the running back, and then for the Broncos, you've been able to flex guys like Judy, maybe some the other receiver, red zone monster
Sutton.
Sutton,
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton has been a flex option. But yeah, the Broncos also on bye this week. So I think what's hurting everybody is the 49ers. If you're a
Mm,
CMC owner, if you
yep.
have, those guys, it is hurting you. The good news is if you have Debo Samuel, he should be coming back next week after the bye week. So some good news
Yep.
comes
He
out of
should
the
be
bye.
back. Can you still hear me, Ben? Because I
Yeah,
can
I
just.
can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, cool. All right, let's just get next. Let's get on moving here. So the injury report came out. Stafford was a game time decision, but he's officially been rolled. We have Drake London, the wide receiver for the Falcons, is out. Damian Pierce in Houston is out, and somebody who's not out but in back from injury, Deshaun Watson. The spread jumped from I think 7 to 13. I don't know if it was because of his news or if the news him being back or because of something else. But Deshaun Watson is back. Anybody that you have in your lineups from here, Ben?
Yeah, I have Puka Nakua, and I know that he was questionable also coming in. They did say that he would play today. He is playing with a backup quarterback. I mean, if you're a Puka owner, if you're a Cooper Cup owner, it might be tough this week with the backup quarterback in for the Lions. You see Drake London out. They finally got the QB change that we've been talking about on the podcast with Heineke being the quarterback over there in Atlanta, and Drake London is out, so you can't even play him. If you're a Pitts owner today, I think you start him and you hope for the best. Heineke's a guy that's been known to air it out. And then Pierce, Devin Singletary, we might talk about him a little bit later. I know Pierce hasn't been too good, but he is RB1 there. With him out, Devin Singletary is a clear-cut guy. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And yeah, Deshaun Watson is back. I think some of that line change has to do with the quarterback situation, Ron. They didn't know if Kyler Murray was possibly going to play this week.
True. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's confirmed that they're going with the rookie Kyle Toon, Nick Toon, Kyle Toon, Toon, regardless. So yeah, I expect the Browns to beat up on them. I know in our Survivor, I think the Browns are a pretty popular pick today with the people remaining.
Yes, man. So for our Survivor Series, we're gonna get into it in the end, but there's only 4 remaining players, and we're all on the Browns. So we'll see. I was actually stuck, bro, between the Browns and the Saints, and I had the Saints locked in, and I switched it at the last minute. So who knows, man? If the Browns lose today, I would have been the overall winner with the Saints, but we'll see. We'll see, Ben. So that
Yeah,
takes care
if
of the
the
injury
Browns
reports.
lose and everybody gets eliminated, we might just have to refund everybody their buy-in back.
Nah, bro. We're
Nobody
splitting
won.
that 4 ways, man. All right, so with the injury report behind us, the flex of the week is where we're at now. I have Michael Pittman, Demario Douglas, and Nico Collins as our flexes of the week. Ben did mention Devin Singletary, who he touched on already, but Michael Pittman versus the Panthers secondary, who he's been in double digits, man, 7 out of his 8 weeks, and he has back-to-back games with a touchdown. The quarterback change, the rookie came in, he was hot, he gets out with a concussion. Then you have Gardner Minshew, who's a gunslinger. He likes to throw the ball around. Do you think Pittman is a good flex this week for the matchup, for his talent, or for his quarterback? Or what do you think's the biggest reason why you should have Pittman as a flex of the week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Pittman fan. I think he's been very touchdown dependent this year. He got saved, I believe it was last game with a long touchdown
Mm-hmm.
at the end or a game ago. But
Yeah, it was against Cleveland. He only had 2 catches on 5 targets for 83 yards and a touchdown to give him
yes,
16 points.
he had like a 70-yard touchdown catch. But Joshua Downs has been a popular fantasy pickup for people. He's been a flex option that people have been playing, and he's been a target that Minshew tends to favor. So I'm really not a big fan of Pittman. I mean, this week the matchup is decent. If you have to flex him based on bye weeks, maybe you have Ayuk on bye, you have
True.
some of these receivers that we talked about on bye week, then you go ahead and flex him. But I'm not the biggest Pittman fan, to be honest with you.
All right, man. Moving on to Demario Douglas. He's the Patriots are going against the Commanders, and their rushers are gone, man. As we know, they got traded away. So I think it kind of opens up for the quarterback situation there. With New England, Mac Jones, who hasn't been great all year, but then his wide receiver Bourne, who was on the come out, is out with tears his ACL. Parker is also out. So this is kind of just there's nobody else to throw the ball to. I think he has I like his nickname, man. I think his name is it Burst Douglas or Spot? I don't know. He has a pretty cool nickname, but he's a young rookie receiver who should get a lot of looks this week. So I definitely have him as a flex of the week.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was, Ron, until this week.
Burst. I think his name's Burst Douglas, something like that.
I'm playing Joby in fantasy football, and it's a league where we start 3 wide receivers and 2 flex options, and he has this guy starting in there, and I'm like, Joby's starting something called Demario Douglas, and then here he ends up on the flex of the week, and then I look into it a bit, and yeah, Bourne tore his ACL, like you mentioned, Parker's out. The Patriots is not really an offense that you want to be a part of. I mean, their best weapon, Ramondre Stevenson, has been pretty iffy this year. I hope he doesn't do that well for the sake that I'm playing against him, and I really don't think much of him. I do like our last guy here on the list, but for Demario Davis, I just really don't want no part of the Patriots offense, to be honest.
All right, man. So moving on to the guy you mentioned, Nico Collins. So Tampa Bay has the second highest points allowed in the last 4 weeks to wide receivers. And I think that they might lean on Stroud a little bit, man. I think they tried to do the running game, kind of make it, even with the run, even with the pass, and they started losing games. We saw last week that they gave the Carolina Panthers their first win of the season. So I think you kind of got to let just Stroud cook, and Nico Collins is definitely the guy there. We saw the success that Tank Dell had in the first couple of weeks.
Ron.
What happened?
Fourth and
Give
10
us a
out of
give us a live
fourth
update.
and 10 out of a timeout. The Dolphins have it at like the Chiefs 30-yard line, and they do a bad snap, and Tua
Oh,
is scrambling around trying to recover the snap, and he gets
terrible.
pummeled by the Chiefs defense. So they lose the game on a bad snap, a snap that, let me see the replay here.
What
Did
a
it
terrible way to lose the
could he
game.
just not handle it? Yeah, Tua, it looked like he hit
He
his
just
hand.
dropped
He
it?
just dropped it. It was maybe a little bit to the right of him. He is a lefty, but no, what a way to lose a game. That's nasty.
Dude, that's terrible. And then you go all the way to Germany, right?
Yeah,
To just take
They've
a
been there the
L.
whole week too. That was the thing coming in, is that they've been there since Monday. The Chiefs just got there on Friday. We saw what happened with the Bills and Jags, where
Hmm.
the Bills flew in a couple of days before the game
And the
and
Jags
they got
stayed there, right?
smoked. Yeah, exactly. So everybody thought, the Dolphins, because they had stayed there. Shout out Roland. He was on the Chiefs this morning,
He
Mondo.
was.
So yeah, the Chiefs get it done. They needed this. Mahomes, after a loss, continues to be a winner.
Yeah, that loss last week looked terrible, man.
It
So
was bad.
moving on here. So we wrapped up with Nico Collins of the flexes of the week. You mentioned Devin Singletary earlier. And that's just kind of the whole thing with the Demario Douglas situation too, is there's nobody else running the ball for the Texans.
Yeah, I hear you. I do think that if you picked up Devin Singletary, I think you picked him up to play him. If you don't play him this week, I don't know when else you're going to play him. So if you have Devin Singletary, I could see him getting into the end zone run. I could see him getting into the end zone.
Yeah, no, I was looking at all the bets, and a lot of people have him for anytime touchdown,
Yeah,
just because of the sheer volume. And I think the team that they're playing, I think who they playing? Are they playing the Buccaneers?
yeah, they play the Bucks,
Yeah, they play the Bucks. So a defense that has been
giving it
a
up.
little shaky, man. All right, so after the flexes of the week, here we have our must starts. Diego's in the chat. I'm shouting him out right now. What? Thanks for joining us this morning. His Steelers did win on Thursday, so we'll shout out your squad for giving Will Levis the, I don't want to say the phenom rookie, but what do you think of Levis's
Don't say the
performance, real
phenom
quick,
rookie.
bro?
I mean, I don't think he was that bad, to be honest with you. I think that they probably found their quarterback that they're going to try out for
Yes.
the next year or two. They did draft him for that. He was a guy that fell, and he got drafted. So he comes with a chip on his shoulder. Didn't have to start right away, but I mean, the offense looks competent. Like they're moving the
Hmm.
ball. DeAndre Hopkins is getting double-digit fantasy points
Yeah,
again.
dude,
Guys are becoming relevant. So
and he's just a big dude. Like he's a big quarterback.
I wish he would
He
run a
looks
little more.
very athletic. He's somebody who can get out, yeah, who can get outside of the pocket if he wants to. And I think he's just like a guy who can make plays. He's like a Taysom Hill if Taysom Hill could really chunk the ball and go through his progression and stuff. But anyway, so get back to the must start of the week. I think Joe Mixon has a big day versus the Bills today.
I hope so.
We've seen what that Bengals offense has been doing now. It seems like they're kind of hit their stride. Joe Burrow might be finally over that injury. Jamar Chase didn't get the ball as much last week, but they still won. So regardless of it, I think the Bengals offense is headed in the right direction. And you can touch on this if you want to, man. Bills are your squad this year. So is it more their defense not playing very well? Is it their secondary? Is it just
It's been a
injuries?
lot of
Like, why
injuries
is the
for them.
Bills defense not looking as great as it has in the past?
Yeah,
With,
no,
when Von Miller was there on the edge killing it.
yeah, Von Miller is like slowly coming back, so he's only playing a limited amount of snaps, like the obvious passing downs. And then Matt Milano got injured, which was a captain, veteran middle linebacker. And then we had a linebacker leave also, so the defense has taken some hits, injuries. And then without DeMar Hamlin, I mean, come on, bro. If they had DeMar Hamlin, forget about it. But
Comeback player of the year, right?
comeback player of the year down to minus 120 now. So people are saying that maybe
Wow.
him just playing one down isn't good enough to win comeback player of the year. We'll see what happens.
All right, moving on to Derek Carr versus the Bears. For me, this is a play on the Bears itself, but also, I mean, we've seen what he's done with Michael Thomas. Is a solid, you know, guy over there who's still in the game, a little bit of an OG, but he's that safety blanket who gets touches. Chris Olave, he's hit or miss, but I think against the Bears, he can be very, very a huge hit. And then you also have Alvin Kamara coming out of the
Yeah.
backfield. He did well. I took his receiving prop. this week. So I think this is a big game at home for New Orleans where Derek Carr can just come out and sling it, man. Do you agree there, or are you kind of putting the brakes on Derek Carr as a must start, especially with guys like Jared Goff being out, Brock Purdy
Uh,
being out,
no, I mean
Trevor Lawrence being out?
he's a I have to face him in several matchups this week because of what you're talking about. QB's on bye. I see the matchup. I think it's a good matchup. I just, with Carr, I was kind of on the Carr hill a couple of years ago. I've now gotten off of it. I'm not about to jump back on it.
Got it.
So I'm just gonna steer clear of that. I do hope that he does feed Chris Olave with some targets that are catchable. If you see Chris Olave's, targets, he's
Mhm.
got a lot of targets. But then if you actually watch the game, I mean, half of those are 50-50 balls. Like Derek Carr needs to throw some better passes, feed Olave, let Kamara get in the end zone. But yeah, I this is the week. If you're gonna start him, I think this would be the week to stream him as well.
I like it. And finally, wrapping up our must starts, we have Amari Cooper going against Arizona. I mean, even if the backup quarterback was in there, I mean, Deshaun Watson's going to play today, right? But I think even with the backup quarterback, this is a guy that you go to, and his hands and his route running itself, just you have to start this guy, especially on a defense like this. If the way that he runs the routes, these DBs and these safeties for Arizona are not going to be able to keep up with him. When the ball is in his area, he just plain catches it. You never really see a lot of drops from Amari Cooper. He had, I want to say, 14 points last week, 14 points week 6. His targets 11, 8, 8 in his last 3. So obviously the ball goes his way. Peoples Jones just got traded, and the only other receiver that they have there is Moore. Njoku is getting a little bit of attention, but at the end of the day, Amari Cooper is definitely the guy there, man. And I think he's a must start against Arizona.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to Watson. I mean, those targets have been coming from PJ Walker, who had been filling in as the backup. We know Watson is back. We know he hasn't been 100% according to,
Mm-hmm.
the reports that we're hearing out of his camp and why he's been out. So you just got to hope that, like I mentioned with Carr, that Watson gives him some balls that are catchable. Pause. But he's got to give him good targets, right? I think it comes down to Watson because, like you said, I mean, I think a lot of Cowboys fans regret, the Cowboys letting Amari Cooper go
100%.
because the tandem that could have been him and CeeDee Lamb would have been, one of the better ones in the NFL. But he does everything right. He just needs, good targets. That way he can execute. So yeah, I like that. I like that today, Ron.
All right, just like Jerry Jones, man, just making bad decisions for his franchise. But what do you expect? I put some players down here who you might want to stream if you're desperate. Maybe in a 12-man league and you get hit with the buys like crazy. Maybe 2 out of those 4 teams, or even 3 out of those 4 teams that are on buy this week, you have players on. I like Charbonnet. Walker to me doesn't look 100%, and I think the game script today for the Seahawks might be a little bit more pass. So Charbonnet coming out of the backfield is definitely an option. Jake Ferguson for the Dallas Cowboys that we just spoke of at tight end. He might be getting some goal line looks. I think he's no, Schultz or what's a Witten, but I think he's still an option, for Dak over there. And then Giants D, they're the thing that's been helping the
The
Giants stay
Giants
in
D.
games. Yeah, bro. They blitz like nobody else blitzes. And what do you want from defenses? You want sacks and you want picks. And their offense is terrible. They do get Danny Dimes back, but they know that their team relies on that defense, bro. Anything that you like there from, some deep dive streamers?
No, I mean, out of all of them, maybe I would say, the tight end pick. I think that that's a pretty decent tight end streamer. We've seen Dak have some sort of chemistry with Ferguson. Charbonnet, I've also seen some love for him this week on his passing and rushing yards
There you
over.
go.
Thing is that the number's pretty low as far as for fantasy goes. It's like 35,
Mm.
35 and a half. So, I mean, that's not going to give you much fantasy football wise. But, if you're looking to maybe take some props, that's a way to go.
All right, man. And as far as the Giants D, they had 13 points against the Jets last week, and then they had 15 against Washington the week before. 10 sacks in the last 2 games, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 interception. They've only allowed 20 points. I mean, albeit against Washington and the Jets, but 20 points allowed in the last 2 weeks. Let's wrap it up, man. We're getting close to kickoff here. So the last slide of the day, we're going to go into the best bets. You can start off with Roland and then go ahead and go into yours,
Yeah,
and then
so
I'll
I'll
top off
go
the show
over
with mine.
Roland's. Roland today is backing the Commanders. The Commanders are dogs, getting 3 points. Shit, I don't even know who they play off the top of my head. Roland
Who's that? The
dives deep.
Commanders.
Yeah, so Commanders are playing the Patriots.
Commanders
We
are
know
going to the
how
Patriots. Yeah.
we know how Roland feels about the Patriots. He was very imminent about their team total under for the season. So the trend continues. You got the Commanders catching 3. Sam Howell, I did stream him last week, 30 points he gave me. You kind of don't know what you're going to get from him, but the Patriots laying 3, I don't think anybody wants any part of that. So I like that. I like that look from Roland there. The Texans -2.5. I'll just go. I have the Texans -2.5. So both of us on the Texans today. Pretty bad loss last week, losing to the Panthers. Expect them to bounce back this week against Baker and the Bucs, who are kind of, leveling off after a hot start to the season. Roland's also going with the Cowboys +3. Rivalry game against the
Ah.
Eagles. That's the big game for the 3 o'clock window for us. So call it what you will. Roland's on Dallas +3 there. And then I'll go to my last one, and I'm on Dallas and Philly, that same game. I like points. That rivalry usually tends to have points in it. Give me a CD Lamb has been heating up as of late. AJ Brown has been scorching hot. So yeah, I like points in this one. Give me the over 46.5.
I like that, man. I mean, and even a 27-21 game gets you there. 28-20 gets you there. 24, 24-27, something like that. A game that also has a possibility to go to overtime. They're really tight games whenever it's a division game. I'll do mine. I'm gonna hit you all with a little teaser. I've actually been having success this year with teasers that I never really hit. So I'm taking Tampa Bay +9.5. Their defense is strong enough to keep them in the game. And to me, the Texans are going to have a little bit of trouble stopping those receivers. Mike Will's there. And I think that coming out of the backfield, White has been a way better pass catcher than he has been a rusher. And I took his props today over. So White, the running back for the Buccaneers, I like his receiving props over, which leads me to grab the +9.5 in a teaser with Indianapolis +4.5. I have the Colts going to the Panthers. They're favored by 2. I think that Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss are going to have a field day today. The Panthers cannot stop anybody on the ground. So if you do maybe daily fantasy, if you do props, I think running backs, if you want to look at somebody, Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss should definitely eat today. So that's my teaser: Tampa Bay +9.5, Indianapolis +4.5 to round out our best bets that are brought to you by Gorilla Box streaming service. If you have any information, if you want any information, just go ahead and hit us up. But that's it, Ben. It's 11:48. We have 12 minutes till kickoff. I want to stop the show now before this production gets any worse. I apologize to everybody that was watching. Never will we put on a show like this again. The technical difficulties were just so bad. But we're back, and we hadn't been back in a while. It feels good to be back, man. Thank you for being on.
We had to get something out. I know. Look at Edgar in the comments. So, Ron, I hit the group chat's going off about fantasy, and I shared this, but it says UFC294 predictions on it.
Oh my God! You see, there we go, man. There we go.
So I went to go look at the message, and he said, "Nombre, we want to talk about football." And they've been going off in the chat about football,
bro. Maybe that's why.
Technical difficulties.
You see that? Yeah, there it is. I just saw it. UFC294 predictions. Wow. All right. Well, we're getting a little bit back on the grind here, getting our feet wet back in, but we'll be better next week. Maybe we'll even do our waiver wire show on Tuesday, but we'll be back at it, man. We'll be full strength soon. But that's it. Ben, anything you want to say before we go?
No, that's it. Just we're on the Texans today, bro. Busted out the Texans hat for this. So let's go Texans.
Yeah, let's just get the hell out of here, guys. Hey, follow us on social media. I promise we'll be a lot better later.